tell the viewer a little bit more of the difference of let's say Last Day on Earth versus Frostborn and how the devs have been treating the game. They're more excited about the fact that Google's just going to keep promoting Last Day on Earth and they're getting more and more new users. In my opinion, it was the most hated update, even more than the 20-door limit, which is a close second, is the repair table and them getting rid of a free-to-play version of the repair table. In this latest update, they fixed that. But the question is, did they truly fix it? The devs actually, they've told me they really like these Frostcast episodes. They like to hear what the people's opinion are. Hey guys, in this Frostcast episode, I'm going to be interviewing the Frostborn Research Team Director Sklent. Hi Sklent, how you doing?
Hi, it's all going great.
Wave to the camera. All right, I see that we've got some people already shooting some fireworks. So let's go ahead and sit down. Let's maybe create a circle here for some people to come and sit and talk. A lot of these people that are sitting are actually listening to this Frostcast episode. This first one is free for any JCF people on the Discord server. But after this time, we're going to be creating a new Patreon role to where you can join this. We're going to coordinate with you and you can come and be part of these Frostcast episodes. If you coordinate on Patreon, you can talk to Bake's going to be heading that up, and all of the proceeds from that are going to be supporting the team, which let me go ahead and introduce Sklent. I met Sklent when he was, we were still in LDOE. I had started Frostborn, but he saw my videos and he was like, I'd love to help you. I'd love to be part of the research team. And he did awesome research. And then he started managing other people doing research. And so he's the research team director. He has compiled, and all of, y'all gave all of these things for me to max out my classes. We went and we measured all the diameters of those things. We did all kinds of research on the game, and we have spreadsheets, like 20 pages of Excel spreadsheets with so much information on this game. And Sklent did, not like he wasn't the only one contributing, but he was the one that organized it all. And he just does a phenomenal job. In addition to that, he plays Frostborn. He does some editing. So some of the videos that you see on this channel are edited by Sklent. And in addition to that, he has also started to help us organize this gameplay channel. So he does a little bit of editing, but he has also created a schedule to help all of the editors know when they need to do what they need to do. That's something that I'm really bad at, telling the editors hey, this deadline, you need to get this done. And so the reason we've been able to post a video every day is largely because of Sklent's organization. And so it has been awesome to have him. He's becoming a dear friend. And so he knows a lot about this game, but he goes way back all the way to LDOE. So the first question that I have for you, Sklent, is what do you think the short-term and long-term future of Frostborn is?
So I overall think that Frostborn, because of multiplayer, is very fun for the short term and long term, and it shouldn't die because of mainly multiplayer part. Even if they stop developing it, many people will still do PvP and stuff so that it won't get boring.
Man, that's a really good point, and I think I've seen that a lot in even just the beta, where even when the devs don't do any development of Frostborn, the players still find a way to have fun with it because we go to the zone, we make our own tournaments, we basically create mini events within the game because of the nature of Frostborn. And every time I go into a zone, like a red zone or a yellow zone, I'm like, man, I just feel like this has created a more, every time it's a new zone. I don't know who's gonna show up. I may be alone this time. I may have someone attack me. And so it definitely creates a lot more of an exciting game than, with some of the single player versions. Once you've done the zone enough times, you've kind of gotten used to all the bots. It's just kind of the same thing each time. So I think you make a really good point there. Any other thoughts that you have about the short-term or long-term future of Frostborn?
I overall think that devs will keep developing this game so it will become even better in the future, so I don't think it will ever die. Also because of that, not only because of multiplayer.
Got it. So it's not just the game being amazing, but also just the way that the devs have been treating this game. I agree with you, but tell the viewer a little bit more of the difference of let's say Last Day on Earth versus Frostborn and how the devs have been treating the game.
So I think that the team that does Frostborn is way better than the one that does LDOE. LDOE has the better times like 2-3 years ago, just after it started, and like a year ago when they started seasons, it started becoming worse and worse with every update, in my opinion. But in Frostborn, they were doing amazing updates each time, but they have like a worse moment of like 2 or 3 updates that they removed repair table from free-to-play players and stuff. But they with these district levels, it got back to the track that it should be going.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and I think a lot of players agree with you that they just don't like the way that Last Day on Earth has been developing. And it seems from my perspective that they don't care, mainly just because I think that they're more excited about the fact that Google's just going to keep promoting Last Day on Earth, and they're getting more and more new users that fall in love with the game that we fell in love with, the early part of Last Day on Earth, and that they don't want to mess that up, and so they're just deciding to put their effort and work into Frostborn instead. And I agree with you also that the Frostborn developers are making really awesome updates. Now, there's two sides of that though, and this goes into my second question. There's the awesome updates that they're making, but then there's also the fact that they make some crappy updates or crappy elements to those updates, and then we, as the players of Frostborn, complain and we say, hey, this isn't good, and then they actually make changes based on our requests, which is something we don't see that often in Last Day on Earth, is them listening to the players. But one of my second question for you is, one of the changes they made that we hated, it was probably, I think it was, in my opinion, it was the most hated update, even more than the 20-door limit, which is a close second, is the repair table, and them getting rid of a free-to-play version of the repair table. In this latest update, they fixed that, but the question is, did they truly fix it? I mean, they did create an option for free-to-play players, theoretically, to get a repair table, but you know, for a long time, it's going to take a lot of grinding to get there. In the meantime, you have to use silver, which is something that's a lot easier for pay-to-win players to get. So what is your thought on the repair table? Did they actually fix the repair table?
And that's the point, that I think that they didn't fix repair table for free-to-play players. Let's look at this with a little bit of math. You can get 20 silver for the daily quest and around 10 to 20 from the tax collector, what gives you like 30 to 40 every day.
Let me stop you real quick. You can actually get 30 silver a day from the quest if you grab the popular district quest. So go into the popular district and accept that quest. It gives you 30 silver instead of 20. It doesn't ruin your point. I just wanted to clarify that. So anyways, keep going.
Oh, and that's a good tip. I'll start using it. So even if you get 30 for this, you get 40 up to 50 every day. You need 50 silver to repair one weapon. What would use basically all the silver you get. To level up your district, you need silver. So you either level up your district or repair weapons. If you decide to repair weapons, you'll be stuck at the level of district you are now. If you decide to level up your district, you won't be able to repair weapons.
Got it. So they need to make silver easier for free-to-play players, or they need to just make make something else for free-to-play players so that they have that option.
Yeah, if I was to suggest the change, I would say that they made this scout event pay influence points and get silver, because for now it's useless because you have a lot of influence points from the tournaments and killing monsters, but you lack silver. So that's what would fix it completely, in my opinion.
Okay, so I mean, I like that idea. I hadn't thought about that. So you're saying if they took the scout event, which for those of you who don't know, everyone can stay in the circle. I'm going to come right back. This scout event, what you're saying is instead of making this cost silver and get influence points, make it cost something else, and then they get silver instead. So it's Bobby's. Looks like it's Bobby's going to join us. So okay, so you're saying that would be that would be the way that you would suggest fixing the repair table.
Yeah, and overall, this is the point that the reason that free-to-play players are stuck with district levels is because they lack silver, but they have a lot of influence points. So that should be balanced, in my opinion.
Okay, I really like that. I would add one more thing to that. I think adding more silver is good. I think a bigger thing, and I'm more of a long-term person, so I realize that some people, the grind is intense for district levels, and so, but it's still possible and doable. So what I would suggest is instead of having the or maybe doing what you're saying, I like what you're saying, but in addition to that, adding into the crafting table, make it near the Draker, like make it at district level 111, make it hard, but adding the repair table in a way that is actually craftable for a free-to-play player. They're still going to have to grind for it. One of the problems that I have with the current system is that now pay-to-win players can get twice as many repair tables. They still get everything a free-to-play player gets, and they get their repair table at home, which a repair table at home is that you don't have to pay for it, is far better. So if they made it to where it was in the crafting menu, then pay-to-win players, I mean, I'm still going to buy repair tables. Because, in fact, I'm going to be more likely to buy a repair table because I don't feel like I'm getting an advantage. I hate the fact that I have an advantage over free-to-play players. But if I'm just getting the advantage that I don't have to grind district level 111 to get that free-to-play, that repair table, then that makes me feel a lot better because I'm like, okay, great. So now I'm buying my repair table and I'm only going to get one, and I can craft it later if I'm district level 111, which is going to take a long time. But instead, I'm just going to buy it now so I have it that whole time. But a free-to-play player is like, okay, great. I can have all the advantages that a pay-to-win player has. I just have to get to district level 111 and then build my repair table. That's a lot of grinding, but I can do it, and then I don't have a disadvantage. And so to me, that also needs to happen for the devs to truly make this game, to restore the balance between free-to-play and pay-to-win. And do you agree with me on that?
Yes, completely. That's a very good idea I haven't thought about.
Okay, so my second question is, what are some things that you would change in Frostborn and why? And this is not just a question for you, but anyone else that is listening right now. If you guys want to chat at Newheim, whatever things that you would want to change about Frostborn, go ahead and Sklent will see that and we can both comment on it. Okay, so we already talked about the repair table system. Are there any other things that we might change about Frostborn?
Yes, so repair table being the first thing. Second one is silver and influence points, mainly silver. And third thing that I would love to be added to this game would be like some location with copper or maple. Either make it PvP so that it would be really a bloodbath, or make it very, very hard, no PvP zone. Because for now grinding for maple and copper isn't really hard, but it's boring because you just go there, cut one or 3 trees, and you go to another zone. If there was one zone with so many maple trees that you would need to kill maybe like 10 stone giants and many other monsters that would be there to get this zone. That would be amazing. Or just PvP so that many people would go there.
So I disagree with you, but I agree with you in what I think you're trying to say, but I disagree with how we should approach it. I like the way we farm maple and copper. I definitely think that they could have a new zone, maybe in like when they add Jotunheim. I think it'd be cool if they had some kind of, to get more of it. But to me, I just think the disparity again between free to play and pay to win, it's just too easy to buy too much maple. If you spend, what is it, $10, $5 to get a stone wall? Is it $10? What is the price nowadays? Sorry, I've been playing this game too long. They keep changing things. So 475 coins, which is worth, okay, so it's about $15, $12, something like that, in order to get a stone wall. But the crazy thing is that you're getting 120 maple, which is just absurd amount of maple when you're in comparison to how much, how long it would take to grind that.
It's pretty much 60 team red zones.
Yeah, how many? 60 because you get, that's right, so 60 red zones. So it's a lot. And in my opinion is that if they just made it to where that was halved, basically a stone wall required 5 maple instead of 10, and then the same purchase of stone walls was, half as much maple, like 60 instead of 120, then that would, obviously that's a big change, it's half, but I think it would just significantly alleviate the grind. And then I think that they could then, and I don't know what the grind is for post 111, district level 111, but they could make that a really grindy. And the only disadvantage is how much silver we would be using for our second repair table. If they added a repair table like we were talking about, and then that would make it to where they could still add the grind. Like, I'm fine with the devs adding grind to the game because I realize that they need to keep people engaged for a long time, and that means they need to add grind somewhere. But if they just make it to where it's a smaller advantage for that grind, then it makes it creates better balance for the free to play versus pay to win.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. Another one that I haven't thought about, but I would love if they did it.
Yeah, because I like farming for maple and copper just because I think it doesn't feel like the same thing to me each time. I just feel like to get all stone walls or to get that many stone walls, my hands would be bleeding by the end of it. It would just be so much, and I wouldn't have a life, like it's just so much grinding.
And King No said that he would love to see more red zones being added to the game, like 2 copies of stone and stuff, and that would be also great because like you farm for iron, for maple and copper, and all the zones are clear. If there were like 2 red zones for each, it would probably make that never all of them are cleared at once, so that you could keep going over and over between them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of problems with the zones resetting, but again, I like the style of like, I can't always be resetting a zone, but again, part of the problem is that it's what we're shooting for is such a high amount of maple. It is just such a crazy grind. Same thing with copper and lockpicks. Though I generally like that it's hard to raid people. I like the balance that they've created on raiding. So I don't know if I'd actually change copper, but I definitely think lowering maple, especially since you can go buy 120 maple for 12 bucks. I definitely think lowering maple is more important than lowering copper. So one of the things that you haven't brought up, but it's a big thing that I care about, is classes. I feel like the level 3 classes are too intense of a grind. Do you agree with that, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yes, it's there too big of a grind just because you have to get, if you want Assassin 3, you must get Rogue 3 and then Bandit 3. If they did it the way that you suggested multiple times, that you don't have to get other classes, like you get Rogue 2 and then Rogue 3, it wouldn't be too grindy. It would still be grindy, but at least you wouldn't unlock something that you don't want, and that would completely fix it if they did it this way.
So to give people some perspective, this is not my maxed out account. So I only have Pathfinder 2 right now. But in order to get, let's say I want a Hunter 3, like let's say that's the game style that I want. I want to be Hunter 3. Then I would have to get, I would have to get Sharpshooter 2, all of these requirements, which is, that's not something you can do in a day. And then all of these requirements, which are a little bit harder than Sharpshooter 2. And then Pathfinder 3 requires 10,000 mastery points, a bunch of other things. I'd have to get it, even though I might not like Pathfinder 3. Maybe it's not even the style that I enjoy. I still have to go get it. And so I have to grind for something I don't want. And then I have to grind for Sharpshooter 3, which honestly is much better than Hunter 3. So in this case, this isn't the best example because you should want Sharpshooter 3 more than Hunter 3. But the point is, I'd have to grind for something I didn't want to finally get the thing that I wanted. A better example would be the Rogue class, because the Assassin 3 is so fun to be able to just just teleport to someone and stab them in the back. It's a really fun class. And so if you wanted Assassin 3, you would have to grind Rogue 2, Bandit 2, Assassin 2, Rogue 3, so that's a lot of grinding for something you don't want, Bandit 3, more grinding for something you don't want, until you can finally start grinding for what you actually want. I think it's a really bad distribution of motivation. In game, we don't mind grinding, but we want to grind for what we want. And so I think the devs should divide it to where all you have to do is get Assassin 2, and then you get Assassin 3. This is what Sklent was referring to. I've mentioned this in other videos. And if they did that, then you would get it and you'd be like, I got Assassin 3. You'd feel that sense of accomplishment. And then maybe later on you're like, I kind of want to try Bandit 3. And then you can go grind for Bandit 3, but you didn't. And you'd even appreciate it more because you grinded for something you wanted rather than having to grind for something you didn't want just to get the thing that you wanted. So that's a big soapbox that I talk about often in my videos. I really do not like the fact that they make us grind for things that we don't want to get to then go grind for the things that we want. Any other thoughts on classes?
No, for classes no, but there's also one thing that I would change that also you suggested. It's like Tomb of Ash, that it's worthless but very fun, and Purple Backpack for free-to-play players.
Oh, good.
So if they added like little chance to the Tomb of Ash to get it, people would grind for this, get these rings, complete the Tomb of Ash just to have a chance of obtaining it.
Yes, I love that. That's definitely, if we could make it to where if the devs would add a small chance to be able to get it doesn't even have to be that small. But if they made a like 10% chance of Logi dropping a level 3 backpack, it would just be a game changer for two reasons. One, free-to-play players would be able to get a level 3 backpack, but two, it would make it to where the Tomb of Ash was just teeming with PvP, which they've already done all the work to make the Tomb of Ash one of the best events in the game. And so one of the most intriguing, like, treasure hunts to get in there, and it would actually motivate people to utilize something they've already done so much amazing work on. So it fixed 2 problems with 1 change. Okay, let's see. I have another question, and this is something that you brought up. Stealing copper by coming and getting the last hit. What do you think about that?
It was actually Doomy that suggested this.
Oh, Doomy, okay.
Just because he hates when people do it, and I was like, okay, but it's not that big of a deal, you can wait, and it shouldn't be banned or anything. But then someone, I have no idea who it is, but he's called Free Fireworks on your Discord, said that they could make it that if you get first hit on the copper, and you're not very far from this, even if someone else destroys it, you still get it. So you would get, let's say, 4 hits, then someone would come and try to steal it, but he would get 5th hit, but you would take this copper. And I think that would be pretty cool, but it's not very urgent to change.
Okay. Yeah, so, okay. I mean, so I personally love the way it is. I love the, are you going to go red and make sure that you can kill anyone who tries to take the copper? Because if you're red and you're powerful and someone steals copper from you, you can just kill them and take the copper back. It's not something that has durability. So I personally have no problem with the way it is. I think it's great. I think if you want to make sure you get copper, then be stronger. Go as a team. Do what it takes. Maybe we can remove the grind of maybe like the maple, but just get better, But I do think that idea has merit in the sense that it still would make it to where basically you see someone gets the first hit. The only way to get that copper is now to fight. So you could go ahead and start going into aggressive mode while they're trying to finish up finish mining the copper, and then you could kill them and take the copper, which, so that I can see that being also a really good option for the game, because it would create, it would create okay, you want the copper? They've already claimed it. So now you've got 8 hits to go into aggressive mode and kill them before they get out of the zone, which I think would be and it would keep people from just, people couldn't come up and just hit the copper and be like, I'm just gonna stay here and get it, Now there is an element to where people could hit the copper, go into a bush and just hide nearby, and someone wouldn't even know they were there and give them the copper, and then they wouldn't have time to go into aggressive mode. So I think there would have to be, I think it's more complex than maybe it's worth the devs to make that change, but I do like the idea. I think that there's some merit there.
Yeah, I brought this topic just because of this idea, because it's a really cool one.
Yeah. Okay, guys, y'all have any other, I have a couple more announcements to mention, but do you guys have any other questions or things that you would want to the devs actually, they've told me they really like these Frostcast episodes. They like to hear what the people's opinion are, and the Frostcast episodes really give a good representation of what the players of Frostborn are wanting. And so what are you guys thinking? Okay, so someone just said a cheap green weapon for Odin. That is a really good, I really want to talk about this. So Sklent, what are your opinions on, basically he's talking about how the fact that they changed the shovel to being more expensive, which was a balance change, and I think balance changes are good, but now it doesn't seem worth it to use green weapons at Odin's. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so overall you can really just use spears, and the green weapons you have lying around. And I think there's no like one green weapon that is worth crafting now. It's like if you have, let's say, some resin and bone fasteners lying around, you make some ritual daggers. If you have some fish glue and pliers, you make shovels. If you have resin and leather strips, you make bone maces. It's just about what you have lying around.
Yeah.
After this balance change, they pretty much made all the weapons even in crafting, so you can just craft one and be like, oh, this is the cheapest one and the best.
Yeah. And I love that. I love the balance. I love the fact that there's not a specific green weapon that is amazing. I think that they should definitely do that. My question, though, is it basically really making the shovel with fish glue? Fish glue is just, you can get a lot of it, but it's not super rare, or it is not super common. And so did they make it just not worth it? And I would say most advanced players would say no, like it's not worth it to use green weapons. Would you agree with that? Or how about you guys? Do y'all agree with that? Would y'all say that most advanced players would say it is not worth it to use green weapons at Odin's, and you're kind of looked down upon at this point if you use green weapons because you're kind of being wasteful? Yeah.
And that's mainly because of this healer being so good that you literally can just do whole Odins with fists. So if they change healer in some way that would like make this impossible to do it like that, then people would still use green weapons. But
Okay.
now it's completely not worth to do them with green weapons.
I think that it's close to being worth it in the sense that it does save quite a bit of time to use, but I would agree that it's not worth it in the sense that it's just a little too costly. To do all of Odin's with green weapons is going to drain you of some pretty rare resources like leather strips or fish glue, and so it's a lot of grinding. It makes it not worth to go grind at the zones to get those green, like let's say leather strips. You can go grind leather strips, but it's just cheaper to grind Odin's with spears. And I think it takes away some of the fun of Odin's by not using green weapons at Odin. I think Odin's was a lot more fun when we could use green weapons.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like kind of dull now.
I wouldn't say it's completely dull, mainly if you have a good
A
team,
bit.
but it is significantly less fun. Odin's is significantly less fun because you cannot use green weapons. And now they did make the simple bow. I think the simple bow is perfect. Ranged weapons should be more expensive than non-ranged weapons. And I love the simple bow's cost. I love the staff of support's cost. Here, I'm going to just pull these up so people can see it. So I love the spear cost. Obviously, they should never change the spear. It will destroy the game if they ever change the spear. After that, the bow, I think, has a great cost. I think the support staff support has a great cost. I think the apprentice staff has a great cost because these are ranged weapons. They should cost something. I think the rusty knife is a joke. Costing
Yes.
costing 3 iron bars for a weapon that has a lower DPS than a spear, right?
I believe it is a bit less.
I think it has less DPS than a spear.
It has 8 damage, it's all about speed.
It's all about speed. Anyways, even if it has more DPS, the fact that, the whole point of a dagger is to get a sneak attack. And when you've got 8, what is the rusty dagger?
Even with Instigator set and Rogue 3, it would be like 20 damage maybe.
Yeah, well, it's going to
Not
be more
20,
than
it's
that,
60, yeah.
but still, it's ridiculous. It is an absolute joke that it costs 3 iron. It costs more iron than any of these ranged weapons. In my opinion, the rusty knife should just be like rope, maybe a plank, and 10 of these scrap iron. I just make it cheap. It's basically the equivalent of a spear. That should be such a much cheaper weapon. And then we go into green weapons, which is what we've been talking about. I think the defender staff is great. I mean, I would change that to 1 glue just because, you know, it's just going to cost a lot of glue. If glue's rare, you're going to cost that a lot of glue if you're going to move that up. The wizard staff I think is great. Those are items that are, you know, valuable. I might reduce the dragon scales just a little bit, maybe to 2 or 3. The cursed bow, I think that leather straps are overly used in the game, so I would change the leather straps to something else, but I think it's fine if they want to make that cost. I think the ritual dagger is great. I think that is a really good I think that maybe lower the iron a tad, but it's still like, I'm so glad they added that to the game. I think that's a pretty decent cost. I think reducing the defender staff to 1 fish glue is pretty important, because if you want people to actually use it and make it and use it, then you need to lower the price of green weapons. Wizard staff, you know, you're gonna have, you know, same thing, 2 dragon scales. You just don't want people to like empty out their inventories and all the grinding that they've done just to build a few green weapons. They're never gonna do it. Are you looking at these recipes with me, Sklent?
Yes, I am.
Feel free to give your opinion at any time if you think, oh, this, if I'm missing something, or if you have a thought on anything.
I pretty much agree with everything. Maybe that was the curse bow to lower oil requirement a little bit, because 3 seems like a lot.
Oh, you're talking about 3 oil?
Yes.
For me, yeah, I agree. 3 oil is a lot. So yeah, I would make the oil down to like maybe 1 and the leather strips down to 2. I definitely think the bone fasteners is fine. Maybe they could even increase it, possibly, but I don't think they need to. Honestly, no. I would just say oil 1, leather straps 2. The whole point of green weapons is you want them to be cheap enough to where they're worth to where it's worth it to save the time to grind it. And if it requires more time to grind those resources than it saves time at Odin's, then you're wasting, then no one's going to do it. And so they have to make, in my opinion, they have to look at the math. Kafir loves to look at the statistics and the math. So Kafir, devs, listen to this. Please do the math. Whatever, no one wants to go grind 4 times the amount of time in the green zone to then go to Odin's, and if they just use spears, they'd save the time. So whatever time we save by having the green zone, by having the green weapons, then do the math and make it to where it requires that same, at least the same amount of time. Ideally, it'd be a little bit less in the green zones or in the tombs or whatever to farm those items. If you're making us farm twice as long to save half the time, no one's gonna do it. And green weapons, I don't think that about blue and especially purple weapons, because people are going to grind as much as it takes to get purple weapons, because they're PvP gear, and people don't mind grinding for that.
I completely agree with everything you said on this topic, honestly.
So yeah, ritual dagger, I think just lowering it some, just enough. You do the math, Kafir. You decide what is going to make it to where we're not having to grind twice as long in the zones to save half the time in Odin's. do the math, make it to where green weapons are worth, because the game is more, Odin's is more fun if you can use green weapons. And so make it to where we actually craft these. That's part of the fun of the game, is to actually be crafting these items. And so reduce how many we find maybe, but reduce how much they cost so that we can easily grind, so that we can do Odin's with green weapons. Odin's is more fun when we have green weapons. We can use our class system, our class skills. The game is more fun if we can use green weapons in Odin's. The bone mace is probably the cheapest out of the green weapons. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it looks like really cheap, since the forest green zone is solo, so you can just open the chests and leave and it resets. You can farm a lot of leather strips, so it's pretty cheap now.
Yeah, and resin is pretty common. So I would say that the bone mace, I still would reduce it a little bit, just because, again, you do the math, Kafir, make it to where we're not grinding however much longer in the zones to be able to not save that much time. Or you could increase the durability of green weapons. If you just want green weapons to be, twice the durability, then great. Then that would be another way. And then that might work actually better, because then in PvP they're gonna be reducing durability based on a percentage. And so that may be the best way to solve the problem, is just to increase the durability on green weapons, but find a way, do the math, find a way to make green weapons worth it at Odin's, because Odin's is more fun when we can use green weapons. And then the shovel, I think that the shovel's not bad, but it's also, you can only make so many of them, and then you only have so much fish glue to go around. So I don't know. If I were you, I'd take out fish glue and make it 5 pliers. I don't know, but that's just to balance. But honestly, I'm not that bothered by the shovel, because the truth is, we do want all of the weapons to be balanced. We think you did a great job by balancing the weapons. We just need them to be cheaper to make it worth it, and then that way we can have more fun at Odin's, because Odin's it is just significantly less fun if we don't have green weapons. Okay.
Yeah, and the most important part about this, please bring piercing dagger back to the crafting menu.
Oh, yes. Well, so here's the thing. If they add the piercing dagger back, they're going to put the little mark. What is your thoughts on that? I think that's why they took it out. I think they thought people are going to be so upset by adding that blue, what are they called? Marks or seals? The
mark of dexterity.
Mark of dexterity. The people are going to be so upset about the mark that they're going to add the mark. They're not going to make it to where you're never going to be able to craft a blue weapon again. I don't really like how they did that, which is a little sad, because I think that they were partially implementing an idea that I had. I don't know. I don't think the marks are horrible. They definitely, I don't know. I don't know what I feel about the marks and seals. I go back and forth.
I don't like the idea of them overall, but if they at least increase the amount you get and make that you need only one for crafting the weapon, because now you just bring it to altar and give points, because blue ones are 25 points and purple are 50, so that's probably the best use of them.
Yeah, it's just you use them for points.
And you need district level 51 to craft staffs, district level 66 for dagger and crossbow, and 81 for axe, and for purple weapons it's level 96. So before people get to this, it just makes no sense, because you open these crates in Odin's, and instead of weapons you get these marks that are mainly useless.
they're mostly useful for points. Okay, I think a lot of players agree with you. I think that is. I go back and forth. My biggest thing is the green weapons, just because I think that makes Odin's more fun. I do like that they added 40% durability to blue and purple weapons and armor. I think that makes a huge difference in PvP. It's a huge win for free-to-play players because it allows us to actually get stuff from people when we kill them. So I'm less bothered by the seals and marks, just because, I don't know. For me, it's like the green weapons is so much more important. I'm like, let's talk about blue and purple crafting after they fix green weapons, because I think that when they fix green weapons, it will give us a better picture of how they should fix blue and purple, or if they even need to. Because if we're doing Odins with green weapons, then it makes Odins more fun. And if we're having more fun doing Odins and the Forge, and then what that's going to create is more pendants, which gives us all more blue and purple gear, which may fix the problem about like the marks and seals and stuff. But that's the question that I have that's my thought, is fix green weapons first, make Odins more fun. Not that Odins isn't fun, but make it more fun again, where we can actually use our class stuff, where it's going a little faster, it's worth it to use green weapons. And then if they fix green weapons, then maybe that will fix the blue and purples. I do think they need to add more recipes. I would like to see 2 recipes for every class. So basically 10 blue weapons and 10 purple weapons in the crafting menu. I think that would be really important for, if we're going to actually make crafting those weapons a thing, they need to have a few more options for us. But again, me personally, I just think green weapons is far more important right now, because if we're having more fun doing Odins, then that means more blue and purples for everyone. Let's talk about the archive. That's a really good one, but let's talk about the archive in the next Frostcast episode. And you can give me your opinion, Sklent, and I'll represent you in the next Frostcast. But I think that's a long discussion, and we're kind of wrapping up. So guys, if you guys actually, I think that was enough. Sklent, if you have any other thoughts on the stuff we've already talked about, guys, if you have any other thoughts on the game, go ahead and comment them, but we're not going to talk about them until the next Frostcast.
Actually, I would add one thing. I would love if they added some perks to the skull claws, because for now they're just War Scatter of the Grey Clan.
If they added, I'm having trouble understanding you.
Like, because the helmet that we get in archives gives you plus 20% damage in
yes.
PvP.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about. I'll represent your thoughts, but we'll talk about that in the next Frostcast, because I have lots of thoughts on the archives.
Yeah, but that's just one thing that is pretty obvious. If helmet has it, why claws don't?
Wait, I thought they did add that to the claws. They did. They changed.
Oh.
So we're getting into what we're going to be talking about there, but they did make the claws give you more damage in PvP. They made that change after the archives came out.
All right.
Okay, so any other thoughts on the subjects we've already talked about?
I pretty much said everything I wanted to.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this opportunity to be able to come in and join us in the town. Obviously, if you do it randomly, that's fine, but we're only going to announce it and coordinate in the future with people that have supported on Patreon. I know that might seem like, oh no, Forrest is doing like a pay to win thing. Everything else in our channel is going to be normal. We designed the channel to be free for everyone. I'm trying to think of ways to help support the team. We've got 10 people that are working really hard to get you these videos every day, and I want to find ways that we can support them. And as we're growing, the channel has like pretty much doubled, or actually it's grown 5 times. In the last 18 days, we have gotten 5 times as many views as this channel has gotten ever. And iOS hasn't even been released. Kafir has still been super like secretive about Frostborn. They haven't announced it anywhere. So if you so as this channel grows, we're not going to be able to fit everyone in Newheim. So what we're going to do is, if you want to support the channel, if you want to help all of these guys that are editing and doing all this work, making thumbnails, if everything that you contribute in Patreon and become one of those members, not only will you be able to be part of these and be part of these discussions, but in addition to that, you will be supporting those people that you love. And we may have other things that we also do in addition to that, but that's kind of what we're going to be doing in these Frostcast episodes. And that way it can kind of pare down who ends up showing up here and who's contributing in this. And then you might, run into us randomly, but we'll be a little bit more quiet about when we're going to be doing these. That way we can get those people that are supporting the team and helping us produce that content daily. And all of the support that comes from those Patreon givers are going to be distributed evenly among the editors, among the people that make the thumbnails and all of that stuff. So you're going to be really supporting this team, allowing, if you like the gameplay channel, then you're going to be not only contributing, not only being able to be there, but you're also going to be able to be supporting the team that you love. So because of that, if you guys have questions, stuff that you want us to talk about on Frostcast, make sure to put it in a comment. We will read through all of the comments of this video, and we will look through and make sure that we talk about those in future Frostcasts. All right, guys, see you next time.